What's up, everybody? Bishop Chris Johnson here. I am thrilled. For the past 2 days, I've been sitting here with a group of pastors, influencers, leaders, entrepreneurs, and we've been in the Pastor Plus camp. You know, I have a deep conviction. I believe that pastors should not only be faithful to their pulpit assignments, but I believe that you should tap into something else. I believe that there is life beyond the pulpit. And for 2 days, we've been talking about some of those principles. And tonight, I am joined with all of this panel of pastors and preachers and leaders. And so as we get into our conversation, as they start talking, we'll do it that way. I'll let them introduce who they are, and then we'll kind of just add to the conversation that way. And so let's just, on your couch right now, on your tablets, just drop that clap emoji right now and give God a praise for all of these leaders. And we can clap right there, everybody. Yeah, Pastor Plus has been a blessing to all of us. Tonight, I want to talk very vividly about what we believe is the future of pastoring. We have so many different backgrounds of individuals who are joined on this panel tonight, but I believe that as we move forward, pastors are going to have to be engaged in more. What does it look like for pastors, community leaders to come together, pastors, entrepreneurs to come together, pastors, influencers to come together? And I think that's what we're going to have to see happen in 21st century ministry, especially in this post-COVID era. So to get us started, I want to start with that question. Who wants to challenge what ministry, pastoring, church looks like over the next 5 years? Now, I'm going to start this with somebody I know can get the conversation going. I'm going to go throw this over to my brother, Pastor Jerry D. Marable. Dr. Jerry D. Marable. Pastor, next 5 years, what does pastoring look like?
Wow. I can say, of course, we all have been challenged, the way we do ministry, the way we present the word of God. We're so accustomed, pre-pandemic, seeing the audience, and then during the pandemic, we had to watch cameras, nobody there, and we talked about that. And now we're slowly getting back to what is not going to be the norm. It's not going to be the norm, but some normalcy, And so I think we're going to be challenged on how we do ministry. We have to do ministry. Of course, the virtual sanctuary is going to be there. Just gotta believe it. None of our churches are going to have the full capacities that we have been accustomed to. So we got to be okay with that. And then we got to find out how we can reach those individuals who are not going to come to the physical sanctuary, who's going to be a part of our cyber sanctuary, however you want to put it. And if you're not doing that, you're going to find yourself kind of being behind the 8 ball. So I think the challenge is going to be for pastors, that leadership teams to come together, think critically, think about how can we do ministry on a different level. And that's why I challenge those pastors who may be watching us tonight, that you need to be here. Pastor Plus is a good place to start, because you're introducing us to tools and information that we're going to need to expand our ministry, to stretch us and not stress us.
I love it. I love it. He said, stretch us and not stress us. I got that down. I'm going to preach that. I'm going to quote you. It's so interesting. I think about the diverse gifts we have on the panel. I think about Pastor Ellison and Brother Terrence. You guys both do online ministry. You're co-hosting. From your perspectives, as he talked about how we're going to have to do ministry different, from your perspectives, what do you see will be our biggest, how do we engage? What are some of the things you do to engage people as they're viewing in? Not just say, here, we're going to go live and go straight to the church service. So how do you keep that engaged, Pastor?
Well, first and foremost, having, the sermon series for the month helps when it comes to creating content. We like to use what's going on in the world. We'll implement that. We may use our strengths and our weaknesses. Like Brother Terrence is a fitness coach, so you may see a couple of, pre-recorded where we're doing exercises that you can do before worship. So we do try to come together, think outside the box, just challenging each other. And one tool that I learned this weekend, and I'm so grateful for it, was the calendar that Miss Taisha Bradley told us, because I turned around and looked at Terrence and I said, I'm going to use that for content. Because when you're writing content, that can become difficult. And you can get writer's block. So I'm not the only content writer. I do have another content writer on my team, but we do have to stay engaged with what's going on in the world. And so we may throw out a question. There have been times when Brother Terrence be like, hey, how y'all feeling out there? Go ahead and throw it in the chat box. How you feeling right now? And so I think next level for us will be able to see what the responses are, so that we can have that live response as the people are engaging.
I think that's critical. Terrence, I think I said this to you earlier. What we've all learned here today is that people have problems, right? And if we're solving people's problems, if your church, if your ministry is what you're doing, solving people's problems, I think about Terrence, when somebody sees you, like, here's a guy that's just super tall, he's fitness, how are you using what you do to let that come across in the stream and say, hey, at Zion, if a guy like me can come, there's a problem that is solving, it's helping me. How are you using that?
Yes, I would say just for us to be able to be honest and be true and help others to break down that shame, because we all have problems. We all struggle. And being able to be real and have other audience to say, hey, he's talking to me, or that's me, or, I struggle too with that. And having that, I believe the benefit of the online, it hit my spirit, because, when the Jews had to have that struggle of the Gentiles being accepted, and that struggle of that change, and Gentile rights, you got a lot of people used to online, and they're like, okay, this is cool. So I just pray that the people who are so used to it, like Jews, to be able to grab it and follow Jesus and follow, what's important is his way, and not follow what I'm so accustomed to. So I just hit my spirit and hope that, everybody is open to think of what's most important is Jesus.
I love it. There's so many different avenues, and I hope people who are streaming in understand and know we've been getting poured into for 2 days. Has it not been a blessing, everybody? Man, it's been such an eye-opening experience. What we began to discover is that there are more ways to reach people than just the four walls and just church. I think about Pastor Davis down in Cedartown, GA. Yes, sir. Pastor Davis, you've been gifted in the sense that you have a health and fitness journey that you talk about. You have a podcast that you're doing. Now, how are you using all of your tools, not just your assignment as a pastor, but what are some of the things that you're doing to kind of reach people?
Well, making it relevant to the people. Oftentimes we leave people out because we're focusing on certain, issues dealing with sin. And one thing that we have to realize when we're preaching the gospel, again, like you mentioned, everybody has problems. So I use my gift in fitness to touch someone that may not know Jesus, get to know me outside of the church. And that people will gravitate to you when they know that you're really human, have compassion for them, and really understand their struggles. We don't necessarily have to preach to them. Let them see our lives. Show them that compassion, and then demonstrate that every day.
I love it. Marina G, who spoke to us this morning. Everybody remembers Marina, right? One thing she said was that everybody has a niche. Everybody has a group. Everybody has a community. And one of the things we get focused on is we try to save everybody, but God has called us to save just somebody, this group. And I think about Pastor M, I think about your ministry to those who are looking toward retirement, those who are looking back over life now, your heart and passion for that. Kind of talk to us a little bit about what God has placed on your heart to reach those who are at that part of that journey that says, I'm looking back from the end zone now and pulling people along.
Yes, thank you, Bishop. I believe that retirement can come at any age. And it's certainly, people should start thinking about it at 30. But when you actually retire, you have had a wealth of knowledge, a history of skill sets, and so it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
And so my group, I'm looking at to help them to establish what you're going to do after retirement.
Wow.
And so after retirement, we either have a tendency to slow down and kind of lose the skills we have, or we start up again with something new and different. This will be my 5th retirement.
Wow.
And so I've done teaching and nursing, RN. I mean, I've paralegal, done it all. But one thing I tell younger people is that you need to cross-set yourself with multiple types of skill sets that will maybe you be able to walk into any job that you might want. But in retirement years, I encourage them to take those skill sets and actually go into their own 501c3, their own LLC, or their enterprise that will continue to give them revenues, sometimes multiple chains of revenue, and then process continued skills because they've got a lifetime of education skill sets that they can pass on and develop new to teach the younger generations how to do it, even though they're retired. Just because you retire, you don't stop living.
I love it.
You kind of.
She got them combos.
But the most important thing that this past 2 days has energized me is that learning something new is not contingent on your age. And so a lot of times the only thing constant in life is change. And so when you embrace change, you become a change agent. So embracing IT. I am also pastor of New Birth Ministry, Developing Ministries. I have committed myself to do the next class online.
I love it.
So, because I work with Zoom, I've been working at home for the last almost a year and a half. It's durable. And so I published a toolbox consulting how to develop ministries in a soft business plan so it can move from that to nonprofit to either a para ministry that begins to partner back with Zion. And so I'm going to have to add online to the toolbox. And actually, this is the communication. Every generation has this communication. And so this is the communication from now to the next 100 years. When we look back, we'll see that we're probably the engineers of change.
I love it. I love it. Listen, we've got such a diverse panel. Pastor M, who is ministering to that retirement age, looking back. And then we have young ministers. We have those who are getting started, whether that's in age chronologically or beginning in ministry, starting ministry. Apostle Hollis, the ministry and the work that you guys have going on down in South Florida. Tell us a little bit about what you guys have going on.
Independent Apostolic Ministries, a family of church and church members, similar to Pastor M. And the intent is to utilize, to some extent, everything in the toolbox. So, for example, I know Bishop Chris, you have the Man Maker Academy, and so forth and so on. That is something that's needed in the kingdom because there are a generation of young men without fathers for a lot of political reasons and other reasons as well that need that. But that is not just something that is stapled to Murfreesboro, Tennessee. So if we can be the vehicle to utilize that particular thing and introduce man makers in Boca Raton, Florida.
Yeah.
Then we become the vehicles to kind of connect the kingdom, because the kingdom is interconnected. Jesus wasn't stagnant.
Yeah.
You know, his ministry was mobile, and every step he took, you know, he went from feeding 5,000 to preaching to 4,000, which if you add that, that's about 9,000.
Yeah.
But the 5,000 was only men, and they didn't count women and children.
Yeah.
So you're looking at probably close to 15,000 people that are following this ministry. And to each one, he used their gifts.
My God.
And to each one, he ministered to uniquely and individually. So that is a part of it. My wife, prophetess Lakia Hollis, though, works, and I'll let her speak on that on her own, on that connectivity with the younger generation to today's church.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because one of the questions that I think we pose to some of our children is the effect of COVID. And the question kind of goes like this. Did COVID, did this pandemic give you the reason to be disconnected from the church?
Wow. Wow.
We were already on the verge of it.
Yeah.
I already didn't like the tradition. I'm sick of singing hymns. I already had a reason to walk away. Let me rephrase that. I had reason to walk away, and now COVID gave me opportunity.
Thank you, honey. That was a great point. I think that that is one of the biggest things, and it's also the relationship.
Yeah.
Because even in this time, we've gotten away from relationship.
Yeah.
And so if we think about Jesus was a man of relationship. And so, you know, pastors over the next 5 years, it's going to take work, because now you're back at this place where you have virtual service, you have in-house service, but you've got to find a way to build this relationship with people who are virtual and make sure that you're still feeding the in-house, but then pouring into yourself.
Yeah.
So this is great for Pastors Plus, because what time do we take to pour into ourselves?
Wow.
And so, you know, one of the things that God has really been on my heart the last 2 days is my husband's father used to always say, you're a jack of all trades, but a master of none. And so we've taken that as pastors, and we become a master of pastoring. I got this down. But at the end of the day, it's just like the young man said, Adrian said, what your purpose is. There's more than one. And so I'm a jack of all trades. I love to make t-shirts. I love to craft. I love children. I love to sing. I love it all. But at the end of the day, listen, my master is going to make me a master of many trades. And so I'm standing on that point. Like at the end of the day, you don't have to like that I'm a multitasker or I'm a multi-person. Because listen, I want multi streams of income.
Come on.
So take it for what you will. But at this day, I'm going for more. And so we have to remember that.
Getting uncomfortable. Getting uncomfortable, right? You just got about 3 preaching engagements. Just getting uncomfortable is what this next season is going to be about.
True.
Right? You know, challenging ourselves to be more. Now listen, God's preacher, Pastor Corey's house. Listen, I'm telling you, God's preacher. Go to Connection Hill right now. That's the Facebook page. And look at this past Sunday's. I'm talking God's preacher, pastor. The next 5 years, you can admit we all are going to have to get a little bit uncomfortable. Pastor Plus, what has it meant to you?
This has been, let me say, Bishop, thank you for the opportunity, the invitation. This has been wonderful. Let me tell you this. We can choose to live or we can choose to die. This is a time in which if we as pastors don't reimagine what ministry is, the past was just that.
Wow.
But we've got to move to this hybrid version of worship.
Yes.
We've got to figure out a way of how to connect with the youth. The educational system is struggling. We went through this whole pandemic season, and children and parents were frustrated by doing online stuff. For the church, we have to find a way in Christian education.
Come on, sir.
Be effective in communicating. Because if our children didn't get the other side, how are they going to get to Jesus.
That's good. That's
We're
good.
also dealing with a millennial generation, which simply says, you're talking about a Jesus that we don't even see.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right.
Another issue is you have some older adults, some seasoned adults. How do you bridge that gap? Because there's a gap. We were already dying.
Yeah.
Then you have another facet of this, and I'm done after this. I promise.
Come on.
I'm done. Because I'm as traditional as they come.
Yeah.
This Pastor Plus has pushed me in places where I thought I would never ever go.
Wow.
But if I'm going to live, I choose to live.
Come on,
Come on,
sir.
So I
sir.
choose Instagram. I choose
Choose it.
I choose to learn these tools
Yeah.
to be connected.
Yeah.
And it takes conferences like this, camps like this, people like yourself to expose. I can't be what I never see.
Wow.
It's
That's
exposure.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what you've done in this camp. And so I'm done with that. I got some more, but
It is, man, it's such a blessing because this idea of it is basically coaching pastors. You know, we've gone to a whole lifetime full of conferences and you know, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but we can do church. We've done that. But this idea of saying, hey, there's more in you on a coach, I want to pull that out of you. We had the opportunity to do some videos. And I was watching all of you do your commercials. I'm peeking through the door. And Pastor Gresham, he did his video. And I said, okay, now that was Pastor Gresham. Now, many of us in Murfreesboro know him as Coach Gresham. So I said, let Coach come out of that video. And a whole nother person arose. It was uncomfortable, probably a little bit. But can you speak to how Pastor Plus has made you come back in contact maybe with what people know you as, Coach? Bring that out. That's the plus side. How do you be both? Can you speak to that?
Well, I guess really, I'm thankful to be included in this, first of all, because there's some circles you don't fit in, or you feel like you don't fit in. The coaching arena, I can jump right in and just run with the best of them. The ministry side, you're still learning. So this is going on my 4th year of pastoring, all the ins and outs of pastoring. But I took what I learned from coaching and implemented it into the ministry. So our slogan at Providence, it's a we thing, not a me thing. Even in sports, it's a we thing, not a me.
Yeah.
So I pushed that real hard, but even with the Pastor Plus, and this is a plus that you all may not thought about, but I did, and that's how it touched me, because young brother over here, Jeremy, we got to talking, and we hear it said that we all go through the same things, we just don't talk about it. Well, we began to talk, and he dropped a nugget on me. Man, he told me, he says, you got to hunt for the good. And since I've been here, I've been hunting for the good, and all the good that has been here through your voices, through your sharing, all that you have done and presented. Man, I mean, when I go back, I'm just like, you know, we all on Team Jesus, but we got the So now if I'm passing you the ball, you got to be ready to catch and shoot. You know what I'm saying? So, and then to listen to you all say that you have teams for this and teams for this and people who can do this and we're a small congregation, but I got some hungry people.
Wow.
You know, and I go back to my boy Les Brown. He says, in order to do something you've never done, you got to learn how to be somebody you've never been. I'm learning how to be that one I've never been through.
Come on,
the
man.
Pastor Plus and Ed and is it Corey? I'm like you, man. I'm ready to get TikTok. I gotta go home and listen to my young adults be like, "Oh, Daddy, you don't answer. Wait, hold on. I want to get the mix too." So you know, and it was funny. Was it Thea? Is that her name that was helping us with the
DeAndrea?
She said, "Let your daughter help you do
Because they know it. They know it. They know all of this stuff. I'm watching everybody's responses, and I believe it was. Well, all of the speakers and presenters were just so awesome. But Pastor Johnson, I believe it was Adrian Davis who really, I could tell he was ministering to you. What were you feeling as I saw you move with emotion? What were you feeling back there as I saw Pastor AD ministering just a few moments ago?
Really, Bishop, I really just wanted to just take off running because he was ministering something that's dear to my heart, and it was the me first, like when you've grown up in church and you've been in church and you've seen, as we said before, our dad, doing ministry and giving up everything for the church.
Yeah.
Then you get to that place where, I got to that place where I'm sick of church. And I'm sick of church folks. And, and you just want to, you really just want to quit.
Yeah.
But it's all because you keep pouring out and pouring out.
Yeah.
And giving up what you want and what you desire. And I just got to the place, where I just in studying, and I heard Jesus when he said, listen, love your neighbor as you love yourself. And I said, well, that's the problem. I'm not loving myself enough or the correct way, So I've been on this search to look. When he said, don't worry about what other people think about. You taking care of yourself, right? Because that was a struggle. So I was relating where he was talking about the fight and the struggle, and what is the church people going to say, and what are they, what comments are they going to have, And he was just like, but you just got to fight through that. And I was like, okay, then. So that was really helping me when he was talking about that, because you do have those struggles. What are people going to say? Because you want to say that you don't care what they're going to say, but you do care.
But you do care.
And but so for him to say to just go ahead and work through that and fight through that and go ahead and tap into the more, because there's more to me. And I think the next thing where he said people will try to keep you where they met you. Yeah. And so a lot of people have met me as Pastor Johnson, but there's more to me than meets the eye. I'm like a transformer, right? And so they want to keep you right here, but there's more that I want out of life, Jesus said, I came that you might have life and have life more abundantly. And so I was having a struggle with that, because I'm like, okay, Lord, where's the abundance? And it says I'm going to have to live this life, then it's my experience, and I want to experience what you have put in me. And so the desires that I have, that's because you gave it to me. You said, I'll give you the desires of your heart. It's God that's at work in you, giving you the will and the desire to do his will and pleasure. So he was just ministering to me on that note. And so, that's why I got a little emotional with that, because, and I'm still about to get emotional, so I'm going to stop talking. But it was just a release for me. And it was a sense of deliverance for me. Just that it's okay. It's okay to do what's in your heart. And, and don't worry about what people have to say, because what God has for you is for you. And, the devil can try to deny it. Delay it, but he can't deny it.
Come on now.
And so I'm going to stop right there.
That's good, because you're getting emotional even now as we speak, right? I could feel that little tightness in your throat right there. ATL is in the house. ATL, Kingdom Nation in the house. Pastor Fee. It's been a powerful 2 days. I've watched you absorb. I was watching you back there absorbing, taking it all in. What has Pastor Plus Camp meant for you?
It's given me total confirmation. God gave me a word that said, we fit together. And what it was with Pastor Plus is that we fit together because when I was a kid, my parents didn't even know that they were giving me something prophetic by playing with the puzzle. And while playing with the puzzle, you got to realize whatever box of puzzle pieces that you pick is where your vision and your goals of where you're going to be. So if you pick a puzzle piece that's only 20 pieces, that's only how far you can go. But when God sets you up for such a time as this, you go for the bigger pieces and realize that all borders once you put the puzzle piece together, you have to figure out the pieces that match.
Yeah.
And once you figure out the pieces that match, and now you can put the puzzle together. But first, you have to start with the parameters so that nothing can come against you.
Come on.
So in that area of what I saw is that God, what you were talking about, different streams of income, different things of not holding us back. The first thing that the millennials, I'm a millennial, but I have an older mindset. I'm a PK kid. But what I've learned in just talking and ministering is basically I had to stop being religious and be kingdom.
That's right.
And I picked Kingdom Nation because there's certain principles that kingdom carry that religion don't.
Come on.
And it's only certain doors that can be opened by kingdom and not religion. So if you figure out what pieces go together and the parameters around the pieces, then you can understand what the vision and the purpose is for your life in order to reach the people you need to for them to be kingdom minded. And the church that I'm trying to grow is, and what, like you said, in this pandemic and in this season right now, what is going to make them come back? It's a lot of millennials that want to come back, but they want truth. They want they want you to be who you are. I preach in flip flops. That's my signature. That's what I do. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to wear no heels. That's not me. Because when I get nitty gritty and I got to lay this devil out, I want them to know that I'm here with you in order to attack what needs to be attacked. And all they want is us to be real with them. All they want is for us to give them the word, not force it down, but just tell them what it is. And once that, then the pieces fit together. And now we have a generation that's not lost. We have a generation that's kingdom minded, that when we leave, now that generation can take on the next generation. And that gap that you're talking about now can come together because now we have put the pieces in proper order. So what we haven't done when I was younger is a lot of the pieces got missed because a lot of the people put the pieces away and tried to put other puzzle pieces in the wrong box.
Come on.
And that's what happens when you try to put the other puzzle pieces in the wrong box. What happens is it doesn't make a clear picture. It's scrambled. It doesn't look right. So a lot of times when I grew up, I'm just using me as an example. When I grew up, at the end of the day, you know, my picture was scrambled because it was only things that wasn't necessarily that was true. Because if you were true facts, then we would get true deliverance. And that's why a lot of things never took place or changed because of the fact of the matter is, oh, we got to wear the long skirts. We got to do this. What about my life and my soul right now? I might come in here being ratchet from the club, but can you help me? Because obviously I'm here for a reason. And that's what we have to do to reach the younger generation as well as the older generation. There's older people that just because they've been in church, that don't mean they know kingdom.
Come on.
They know religion. They know how to sing a hymn. And they got to figure out where to fit. And in order for you to figure out, that's why we're around all these pastors, different wisdom, different knowledge, education, so that we can know where we fit and then put the puzzle piece together. And now we can take over nations. And I think that's where we're called to be. I think that's where, you know, Pastor Plus is called. We're nationwide. You know, we're starting now, but we're nationwide. You know, the bishop had the vision. He had the puzzle box. He said, I'm not just going to have 10. I'm going to go ahead and take this whole nation together. And I'm going to add you, and I'm going to add you, and I'm going to add you. I'm going to have the main component because I already see the vision because God gave it to him. But now I'm going to put you in the right, proper place. Put you, and then that's how you network. And we make a kingdom and not religion.
Amen.
And that's what we need to do.
Kingdom Nation down in ATL. Listen, we've got not only Atlanta, all the way down in Jacksonville, Florida, Pastor Christopher A. Jackson. Jack, I was watching you the whole conference, man. I could tell some things were connecting with you. What stood out to you?
So many things. It was a plethora of things that stood out, but one of the Oprah has what she calls a aha moment or a wow moment was when Bishop, you prayed today. You prayed today at one of the endings, at one of the closing of one of the sessions. And that prayer brought such a sense of deliverance that it began the delivering process. Because sometimes we come to church and we were talking about we want total deliverance, total this, and we just don't get it all at one time.
Wow.
Because there's things that we have to face. Sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves. You know, I want it, but am I ready to give it up? You know, I want to be free, but am I really ready to be ruled? And am I really ready to give up what it takes to be free? So today, when you begin to pray, it confirmed a lot of things as the man of God, Pastor Adrian was talking about, that it's okay to be more than what people see you being. I was so blessed and privileged to be a part of the Zion Christian Ministries family. And by being a part of this family, I developed a relationship with you and serving as a worship pastor. A lot of things that people don't understand about worship pastors, that's my passion. Leading worship is one of my passions, but also making sure that worship leaders have a healthy life is important. And I learned that from you, and understanding that worship leaders experience things just as the senior pastor. That's how come it's important that a pastor and its worship leader have a solid relationship.
Absolutely.
Because leading worship, sometimes we think that we belong to the church. We belong to the church, and we gotta do church, and we gotta do it this way, and we gotta do it that way. But then when we get back in our cars, we're wounded.
Right.
We're broken. We're up, and we're leading the people into worship, but we're suffering in our lives. We're suffering in our lives. But from this weekend, I got a glimpse of what I can be.
Wow. That's good.
Wow. You know how the scripture comes to mind, and I'm understanding. Understanding. We talk about holy living.
Right.
We throw that slang in the church I come from. Oh, you got to be holy. You got to be right. But after this weekend, I'm understanding holy living from the WHOLLY. How to be whole. How to be whole. How to be how to learn how to suffer and then celebrate. Being holy. It was just so many different things, and I encourage worship leaders. I encourage influencers. I consider myself an influencer because I like to talk. I like to go after people and different things like that. But I encourage every worship leader. And one more thing, it's also important that the worship leader understands that it's not the church's job to pay your bills. Because sometimes we look at this thing, Pastor Bishop, as a gig.
That's true.
Come on,
That's
musicians,
true.
we hire, we look at each other. We look at this thing as a gig. We don't even look at church and ministry as what it is anymore.
Right.
We look at it, who's going to give me the biggest check?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Come on.
That's right.
What you need to do is go to work.
Right.
And even if you, and let's be honest with you, if you're, and I learned this from Bishop, I watch Bishop, I study Bishop on a continual basis. And the thing that I admire about him is that he's not selfish with sharing his knowledge. And if he's going to be great, that's why he's the greatest coach, y'all. If he's going to be great, he wants us to be greater. And so I encourage every worship leader, even my friends back in Jacksonville. I'm always talking about this church and talking about this assignment that Bishop has on his life. Just meet us here in December.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be wild.
And be on the lookout. Shameless plug. Not only do we have Pastor Plus, come here, somebody.
Come on.
We've got Worship Leader Plus.
Come on.
We've got Musician Plus.
Yes.
We've got Pastor Wife Plus. Because we're pushing everybody in the kingdom
Yes, sir.
to find your plus. Isn't that good? That's good. Now watch this. I didn't think we could get through this whole panel and hear from everybody.
Right.
Watch how I'm gonna lead this one in. Bishop Strickland.
Well, first, give me another kind of. I want to say that what came to mind as we were doing all of this is the word restructure. And I heard Pastor M talk about retirement, but in the kingdom we restructure and we never retire. And the illustration I got was this one. As all of us were talking, I saw a field where there was a pile of an ant bed. And if you cut grass, which I have, when you cut grass, you run over the pile of ants and you send them flying out, all the ants and the dust and everything goes up. So this whole last year and a few months has been as such for the kingdom, where we've gone through this pandemic, we're going through it, coming out of it, and everything is up in the air.
Yeah.
The dust, the ants, the grass, the pastor, the church, the people, everybody is up.
Come on, Bishop.
And in this process of what kingdom is going to look like afterwards, we have to remain in the process that God himself will show us what happens when the dust settles.
My God.
Because if not, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to wanting to do what we did before we got to this
Come on,
place.
sir.
And now we're all global.
Right. Amen.
We're all global.
Yes, sir. Say it.
We are all global.
Yes.
All of our ministries have grown tremendously.
Yes.
Because all of us now have to get in front of the camera that everybody can see us now. And so what I would say is, for all of us in this restructuring phase, is to allow the dust to settle, but let God lead us. And not desire to want to go back, because if not, we'll just build what happened before the pandemic came again.
Wow.
We'll go back to what we knew was comfortable. All this digital stuff is new, this Twitter and TikTok and twerking and all this kind of stuff. It's new.
Come on, Bishop.
Tweeting.
It's all right, Bishop. We got you. It's all right.
We know what you're talking about. This Instagramming and all of that is new, and it's a challenge for all of us.
Yeah.
But it came through, blew all of us up, and now here we are before the world. I see it as God has given us an opportunity to share his word with more than the people in our zip code. With more than the people that we are accustomed to seeing. Because if we always plan for what's there, that's what we're going to always get.
Wow.
I'm planning for what I have been exposed to now, which is the global world. It's the world wide web.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's where we are. And so I'll say to all of us, in the process, make it through. Don't desire to go back to what was. Stay on your face before God.
Yes, sir.
That he will give you instructions concerning what is this going to look like. And it may seem to be overwhelming now, because this is a lot of information we got.
Yes.
It may seem, but if you ask, here it is, the Savior to help you.
Wow.
Come on with it.
Comfort, strengthen, and keep you. This is the hymn. He is willing to aid you, and he will carry you. Come on, He'll do it. He'll do it every time. I'm a witness. He'll do it every time. When you don't know, he said, there's a spirit on the inside of you.
Come on.
Will give you the wisdom.
Yes.
And he does not mind pouring it on you lavishly.
Yes.
But if you need help, say, Father, what do I do in this? Father, I need a team. Father, I need help.
Yes.
And what he'll do is he'll give you the wisdom.
Hey, save it for Sunday.
Thank you, sir.
My God.
As a podcaster myself and interviewer, I've shown this to my audience. I shared it, but a lot of people don't know what Pastor Plus is. How did it start, and why did it start?
Pastor Plus, I have a deep felt conviction, everybody. My conviction is that there is life beyond the pulpit. That conviction started about 2012 when the best man that I know, the late Bishop T.P. Johnson, went on to be with the Lord. He looked me square in my eyes and said, son, I'm tired, but I ain't got nothing else. I made it up in my mind right there. That will not be me. And how many pastors are at the place that the late bishop was? When you look at your life, at the end zone of your life, looking back, saying, I want to go do something else, but I just can't. That's called pastoring with chains. You are in bondage to that pulpit, but I'm telling you, you can be free. Hear me, Pastor, and I'm going to speak clearly to you as I close. When God spoke to Moses, after Moses is standing in front of a Red Sea, he says, Moses, what's in your hand? And he has a staff there in his hands. the same staff, pastors, that went on the ground and turned into a snake. The same staff that Moses used to hit a rock and water comes gushing out. The same staff that a root came up, sprouting up out of it as they chose the high priest, Aaron. It was interesting that as you look at that staff, the power was never, ever in the staff. Because when he threw it to the ground, it became dysfunctional.
You preaching Sunday morning.
Moses had us to understand the power was never in the staff, Pastor. It was never in the pulpit. The power was never in the church. I got a question for you. What's in your hand? This has been Pastor Plus Camp. You got to see us December 9th and 10th. God bless you. Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all.